Hey guys, Vaughn Scow sitting cross-legged in front of the Christmas tree with one of the new presents I bought myself. This is the Lab Series L9 amplifier. Okay, now, and by the way, check out my other videos because I'm doing the L9, I'm doing an L7, and I'm doing a shootout between the L9, the L7, and my favorite amp of all times, my Blackface 67 Fender Super Reverb. So, so if you want a little more Lab Series, man, there's more out there to be had. Okay, so few standard disclaimers up front. I know I'm not a great guitar player. I am, however, a pretty great recording engineer with lots of credits, a good record producer, and a serious tone expert. So I'm giving you what I got, okay? If you want to go hear somebody, play Eddie Van Halen licks just like Eddie, man, go somewhere else. You ain't going to get it here. Okay, so hey, my quick little deal on what the Lab Series amps are, okay? During the last few years of the 70s and the first couple years of the 80s, these things were it, man. The big players played them. They were in the music stores, but they were like in that, kids, you can't mess with this crap because they're too stinking expensive for you. And nobody I knew could afford them. I mean, the L9, which was the top of the heap Lab Series, man, this guy was over $1,000 in like 1979. Okay? We're talking nobody could touch these. The cool thing is, today, I don't know why, man, but they're sleepers. You can buy them on Craigslist and eBay all day long for well under $500, okay? This one came to me dirty as a cob for $150, and this is the L9. It has a single 15, and it is, in fact, the EVM 15L, which is a monster 15. This baby is a Jazz Box Deluxe. It'll stay big and bold and clean up to incredible volumes. These guys are rated at 100 watts, and that's serious, honest-to-God watts. That is 100 watts RMS, the same way like Marshall rates their amps, okay? They ain't fooling when they say 100 watts, if you got what I'm talking about here. The Lab Series amps, again, sold through Gibson dealerships, designed by Bob Moog in part anyway, who had been doing a lot of cool things all through the 70s. And these amps, honestly, man, they are like so the deal for their day, okay? Well, I'll also say, by the way, in case this is the only one of my videos you're seeing, the Lab Series were available in 4 models. The little L3, if I can call it little, was a single channel, single 12 with 60 watts RMS. Still a screamer. And then the L5, L7, and L9 were all 100-watt amps, and the difference was the L5 had a pair of 12s, kind of like a twin reverb of the day. The L7 had 4 10s, and the L9 had this super monster EVM 15L15 in it. Okay, they all feature the same Accutronics long spring reverb that was going into the Fenders, and so the reverb is awesome. I mean, a very Fender sounding, Fender blackface, silverface sounding reverb. If you like that thing, this has got it in spades. 2 channels, just like a Fender. I got to point out at this point that the 2 inputs are labeled high and low. And what that means is opposite of what it means, unlike Fenders and any other amps. It means that the high is expecting a high-level input, and the low is expecting a low-level input. And what that means is that the low input, the one that says low, is louder than the one that says high, because it's expecting a lower input level. Okay? I don't get it. That, again, hey, can you see Bob Moog designing these things in the 70s? Yeah, man. Which one should we call high and low? I don't know. Okay, so it's just the way it is. And also, by the way, the low input is not only a lot louder, it's also a little bit brighter. I, generally speaking, like the low input. However, this very L9, I had a keyboard player playing through at a gig a while ago, and had him plug into the high-level input because, of course, the keyboard is a line-level output device with a higher level, and I wanted to make sure that he was not pushing it anywhere near input in the front end. So there is a good reason for that. If you're going to play bass through this thing, and it would make a great little bass combo, I would definitely say if you got a loud bass, active electronics, or something like that, you're going to want to plug into the one that says high for the high output of your instrument. Okay, there you go. having gotten all that done, man, 2 channels just like a Fender. Channel 1 has volume, bass, mid, treble, and a bright switch just like a Fender, right? Channel 2 has all that same stuff, except its mid-range has actually a parametric control, which means you can select what frequency you're boosting and cutting from 100 hertz on up to 6.5K, and then how much you boost or cut that frequency by. That requires somebody that knows a little bit about frequencies, okay? You know, Bob Moog here, he thought everybody knew what 200 hertz is. And by the way, if you don't, learn, okay? This also has a multi-filter thing. This is basically the Moger-Foger filter deal, right? And it just, as you go up, it progressively filters out more and more frequencies and makes it sound more and more and more like you're talking through a megaphone. I'm not quite sure what that would be for, but again, you gotta think. Bob Moog, early 70s, thinking this thing through, going, hey man, how about we call it filter? Okay. And finally, Reverb Control. Oh, and this guy, in addition to the master volume over here, actually has a true optical compressor. This is one of the reasons why a lot of guys that have found these amps really dig them. I'm not into that. I never use it. But if you want that, like, you know, that Nashville thing, you know, that Telecaster with a little, you know, little slapback delay and compressed to death thing that, like, was made famous originally by Ray Flack. Today, people like Brent Mason are doing it. You're probably going to like that compressor because it is an honest-to-God optical compressor. Man, you can't find an optical compressor pedal for what you can find these entire amps for on eBay, okay? So having said all that, let's play this thing a little bit. I've got it set up, by the way, sounding about as close to a, you know, a black-face Fender Super as I can get it to sound, which is my favorite amp. I'm going to go ahead. This is between the neck and the middle pickup. Now we're at just like conversational level here, or, you know, I mean, like coffee shop level. And so I've got the master way down at like 3. I've got the input at about 3, which is a good place for it to be just starting to sound like a tube amp starting to break up when you're on the low input anyway. And I got to tell you, man, it is cool for any amp to be able to sound this juicy at this volume. And with 100 honest-to-God watts, it will sound, you know, pretty much just like this, all the way up to big stage level. So that's a cool thing. And still, the touch sensitivity is really good, especially considering it's got this Big Mama EVM 15 in it, okay? So let's go to the other auto-facing I like doing, which is between the bridge and the middle pickup. If you see my video on the L7, by the way, I like the L7 a lot better on that kind of stuff. But, man, if we're talking just like... the 15 rocks on that. Oh, let me surf this mama out for you for just a minute with the reverb up. You know, again, it's the same reverb the Fenders use, and so it's got that same sound. I tell you what, honestly, really, really great. Before I start kicking some distortion pedals, let's do the big jazz box thing up on the neck humbucker. I mean, definitely, man, we're talking keeping up with the jazz chorus, kind of big, fat, ballsy stuff there. So that's super, super, super cool. Now, let's go to, I'm going to get set up to where we're going to be humbucker on the bridge and single coil on the neck. I'll start up on the neck and kick in basically just some tube screamer stuff here. On the neck pickup, and let's go to the bridge here a minute and do just kind of like that. Real nice straight up stuff going on there. And now I'm going to kick in a little bit more grit. I'm reaching over and hitting my pedal board here, by the way. Man, do you like this informal thing? It's like we're all just, you know, sitting here in the living room together. And it's Christmas time. Woohoo! Okay. Okay, it was in tune. Still very, very, very good there. And before I get off and say goodbye and so long to y'all, I'll go ahead and kick in my Boss. It's an OS2, which is basically the overdrive and distortion together, and I've got it running almost pure distortion. So, so in other words, it's real fuzzy, buzzy distortion, not, you know, smooth tube screamery overdrive. Okay, and it's really cool on that too, man. I mean, the L9 is a frickin' awesome amp by all accounts. And these things, man, the Lab Series, when you can find them, they are not fetching big bucks. So go out, get them. Get them while you can. Get them while they're cheap. It's an investment, man. We can't afford gold anymore. Invest in Lab Series amps. I mean, they're freaking awesome. Okay, that's it for now. I'm going to use my magic wand remote control to stop the camera and say goodbye for now. Hey, thanks for hanging with me.